What's up, everyone? James Lynch here doing a quick reaction video to the news that Dana White has announced the coaches for season 32 of The Ultimate Fighter, and they're going with Alexa Grasso, the UFC flyweight champion, and Valentina Shevchenko. I got to be honest, this is disappointing. I don't know what was available. I don't know why they have not put more emphasis on getting good coaches on this show, but I just don't think this is going to translate well to television. Now, look, I'm not talking about Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko as actual coaches and them teaching things to the fighters that are going to be on this show. I think they're two of the best that you could have. But this is also a TV show at the end of the day. It's a reality TV show, and one that I think has struggled to stay afloat the last couple of years with Contender Series coming in, with the fact that pretty much every regional promotion now has a streaming service. It's not what it used to be back in the day. And now they're going with two coaches that I just don't think will be very TV friendly, if I'm being honest here. Now, obviously Valentina's got a little bit of an edge when it comes to her interviews and stuff. I've interviewed her a number of times. She's a great interview, but I just think this was a missed opportunity. And we know that this season is going to have, I believe it's middleweights and featherweights. Let me just look here. Yeah, featherweights and middleweights on the show. Like, I could even understand if it was a bunch of women's fighters, like for different divisions there, maybe that would work a little bit more, but I just don't think this is a good formula for the UFC going forward. My big question is, it sounded like, and Israel Adesanya admitted this on the Theo Von podcast, they were trying to do Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis for UFC 300. Why aren't they the coaches? That is the missed opportunity here. I don't know if they didn't want to do it. I don't know if, again, it's not very fun for the coaches, and I don't think you get paid very much. But I do wonder, was that even on the table? Because that would have been a good show. We know the history between Adesanya and du Plessis. I mean, let's go look at the photo of du Plessis after the Adesanya fight, and it's just one of those memorable photos, like after his win over Robert Whittaker, right? So if my internet's gonna hold up here, yeah, there we go. This one, yeah. I mean, this is what you want in coaches. You want a rivalry. Like, some of the best seasons were seasons where they had coaches that didn't like each other. You go back to the Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock season. You go back to, even like a season where you had, Dominic Cruz and Uriah Faber. Like, those were like interesting seasons, in my opinion, when you had the Conor McGregor and Faber. They didn't even end up fighting each other, but even that had some sort of personality on the show. I don't know why they haven't gone back to that. And like I said, I think the big issue with the Ultimate Fighter these days is just the fact that they just, you're kind of getting the best talent, I feel like, on Contender Series. And I think a lot of fighters are kind of going that route anyways when it comes to, what opportunity's better. Like, what would you rather do? Be stuck in a house, you don't have access to your phone, you don't have access to the outside world, really. You're stuck filming. You can't say anything after the show's over, or you have one fight on Contender Series. Now, look, I know Contender Series has its downsides as well. You could have a good performance and they don't pick you, and then you're at the back of the line. But that's one fight compared to however many fights they have in the Ultimate Fighter. And I'm actually even trying to remember, because this, honestly, like I've told you guys this before, the Ultimate Fighter is what got me into covering MMA and watching MMA. The first season, Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, great coaches, really good fighters on that season, if you remember. I mean, we can go look back at the very first season here. They had Kenny Florian, and they had who was it? Diego Sanchez, Josh Koscheck, Chris Liebman. Like, look at this cast. Most of these fighters would go to be like pretty memorable. Bonner, Swick, even Swick had a good run in the UFC. Forrest Griffin, Koscheck. The thing is, though, when this show first started, they were probably getting some of the best talent that was out there. Now it's tough to say, because you got to imagine it's a TV show as well too. So you're trying to get some personalities, maybe not necessarily the best fighters. And again, you got Contender Series, so it's kind of a mixed bag here as well. But let's get back to the coaches, because that's the focus on this video. Like, I just don't think there's going to be like a lot of good trash talk. I don't think there's going to be a lot of good moments. Like, I think basically what you're relying on is the contestants that they've selected doing something interesting that's going to gather people's attention. But I just think this is a huge miss by the UFC. Now, look, I get it from their perspective in the sense that the rumors we've been hearing, and I don't know if they announced it here. Did they announce the fight? I mean, the rumors we're hearing is that they want Valentina and Alexa Grasso fighting at the Sphere in September. So if you're filming this show and you want them for that event, this would kind of tie them up between now and then. That makes sense from that perspective. But yeah, it's just like, I just don't think this is the type of show or the type of coaches that are really going to get people to watch the show. And honestly, like, I want to know in the comments from you guys, like, are you still watching The Ultimate Fighter? For me, I usually PVR it, skip through a lot of the storyline stuff, and then get straight to the fights themselves. But you look at some of these past seasons as far as coaches, because I was just sort of going off the top of my head here. You had look at this. Even Matthews, Rich Franklin, two good coaches. Ortiz and Shamrock. You had even Jens Pulver, BJ Penn was good. Obviously Pulver and Penn having some history there. Matthews, Matt Serra was a great season as far as coaches. Griffin and Rampage not so much, but that was actually a pretty. Actually, it wasn't even that good of a season. Amira Sadala won the show, and he only had a couple of UFC fights. Henderson and Bisping, good set of coaches. What else? St. Pierre and Koscheck was good. Even Miller and Bisping, if you remember before Miller, kind of went off the deep end a little bit. That was an interesting fight at the time. John Jones, Chael Sonnen, Rousey and Tate was a good season, right? Because they didn't like each other. Edgar and Penn. I mean, look at, again, they have had good coaches on this show. I just don't know why it's not more of a priority now. This could also come back to another thing that I rant on a lot about on this channel, which is they do too many events. So they're probably, maybe the reason they couldn't do Duplessis and Adesanya was because they needed them for an event to come up here pretty soon, right? Because the UFC likes to plan stuff in advance. They like to have their cards lined up, and they have to do these cards, right? They do a pay-per-view every month, so they have to sort of fill up space and everything else. So that could be it as well. But then when you do that, you're pinning yourself into a corner. But personally, I would have way rather saw, forget about Duplessis and Adesanya. Let's say that out to the window. Colby Covington, Ian Gary. That would have been a good season as well. Why are they not looking at some of the personalities they have in the sports here, in the sport, I should say? And again, I'm not disrespecting Grasso and Shevchenko in terms of their coaching ability. They're amazing fighters, and I don't want people to come on here and use the M word or anything like that. You know what I mean? But I just think they could have picked better coaches. And I just think you have two women's flyweight coaches for men's middleweight and featherweight. I don't know. It's not a good recipe. That doesn't make me want to watch a show. Honest to God, if it was DDP and Adesanya, I would probably watch every episode, because then you would want to know, was there anything happening between the two sides of things? And then you got to think as well, with Adesanya's team, Eugene Behrman saying all the stuff about Duplessis, you got to be ready. I mean, we could have seen some interaction there with Duplessis and Eugene Behrman. There's just so many possibilities. And then even with Covington and Ian Gary, just the back and forth between the two, that would have been interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of being a little bit too critical here, but I don't think this is interesting personally. I don't even know who's on the show right now. They said, they said featherweights and middleweights. So we'll wait and see sort of some of the names on there. That would be sort of the only enticing thing for me, is if it's a fighter I already know, or, I liked what they did last season, if you remember, which was the, what was it? Actually, do they even have it on here? I'm not seeing it here. TUF 31. If you look at TUF 31, they had a mix of veterans and up and comers. I like that. I think that's smart, because again, you're going to have, here, let me just see here. I'm trying to find the rosters. Why is it not on Wikipedia? Ultimate Fighter 31. Here we go. The roster revealed. See, they did a good mix here. They had Hunter Azure as a UFC vet. I've always said, MMA fans, we remember fighters that were in the UFC once they get released, so it's good to bring them back. And maybe if you're a fan of that fighter and you're damn, they got released, you almost want to root for them on the show. And then conversely, you've got these up and coming prospects, so it makes it a bit interesting here. So I hope they go that route again for this show. I hope it's a mix of featherweights that used to be in the UFC and middleweights that used to be in the UFC mixed in with some prospects. I'd be totally down for that. But as far as the coaches go, not a fan. Again, I like both fighters, but not a good idea for coaches. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. What do you think of the coach selection? Who should they have gone with? Let me know in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.